Whispers tell us that the council of keepers guarded these symbols. They believed that light, like all things, carries a life of its own. It is born, it grows, it serves, and then, when its time is done, it must return to silence. To keep a flame burning beyond its natural span was to strain the universe's breath. And so the keepers watched the lamps, not only to ensure they glowed, but also to ensure they dimmed. The city's people honored this belief with gentle devotion. Each year they held a festival known as the Resting of Flames. For one night, all lamps were left unlit. The city sank into darkness, and its people sat together in stillness, listening to the desert's breath, waiting for the stars to guide them instead. It was a night of remembrance and humility, a recognition that even brilliance must bow to the quiet of the world. But then came the night when the lamps never returned. Some texts say the desert winds thickened until the air itself turned to haze. Others describe a gentle fog rising from the dunes, soft as silk, but strangely heavy with stillness. The people lit their lamps as they always did, but their glow seemed to withdraw, swallowed by the thickening veil. One by one, lights flickered, trembled, and fell into darkness. The next morning, districts stood empty. Not destroyed, not broken, simply absent, as if carried away by the fog. Entire streets, market squares, and sanctuaries had slipped beyond sight, leaving only faint impressions in the sand where foundations once rested. Those who remained searched for days, calling out names that dissolved into the silence. They followed trails of footprints that ended abruptly, mid-stride. They found lamps still warm, their wicks burned clean, but no hands to tend them. Every night, from the high watchtowers to the narrow lanes that curved like gentle rivers, thousands of small flames shimmered in harmony. They say it looked like a constellation laid upon the earth, moving, breathing, warm. Travelers could see it from miles away, a halo of soft gold hovering at the desert's heart. And as people approached, they felt the hush of it, the way the glow settled into the bones like comfort woven from ancient hands. Yet the lamps did not burn forever. As we walk deeper along the half-buried path, the dunes rise and fall like the ribs of a sleeping giant. In their shadowed folds lie remnants of the old city's walls, carved with sigils so worn they appear to be more suggestion than script. Still, when the light touches them at certain angles, one can almost read the shapes, spirals, crescents, intersecting lines that seem to echo cycles of breath and flame, patterns of renewal or surrender. It is said that at the edge of the great silence, where the desert begins to forget its own name, there lies a trail of scattered lamps. Their glass is clouded now, touched by centuries of drifting sand and moonless nights. Yet inside each one, if held a certain way to the light, a faint shimmer still lingers. A memory, perhaps, of fire, a whisper of a glow that once guided travelers across the endless dunes, like stars that had fallen gently to earth. Many wanderers have followed this path of silent lamps, though few ever reach its end, for the desert is restless and the wind has a habit of hiding what it once revealed. Still, those who come close speak of an outline, half asleep beneath the sand, an arrangement of stone corridors, terraces, and broken arches just visible when the dunes shift as though exhaling. The old ones call this place the City of Lamps, though its true name slipped away long before the first history was carved. The invitation to this forgotten city is not written but felt. It begins with the hush of dusk, when the desert cools and the sky softens into indigo threads. The lamps begin to appear one by one, their metal bases barely visible beneath dust, their once delicate handles reaching upward like the frozen gestures of a people long gone. They line the path in a gentle curve, as though guiding a procession that never quite finished its journey. And so we begin ours, slowly, as though stepping into the memory of a dream. Some believe the city was born from moonlight. Others say it was built by a community who worshipped silence itself, gathering each evening to honor the flicker of lamps that mirrored the soft pulse of their own breath. Others whisper that the lamps were not tools, but companions, conductors of a sacred ritual meant to keep the darkness tender and calm, never violent or hungry. The stories differ, but all hold one thread in common. The city glowed. And always, beyond the dunes, the fog waited, thick, unmoving, patient. In the scrolls left behind, the written words tremble with uncertainty. One passage mentions travelers who ventured into the fog's heart and claimed to hear voices beneath it, voices not of the lost, but of the waiting. The sound, they wrote, was like the hum of flame inside glass, quiet yet persistent, as if an entire city whispered from just beyond the veil. The keepers, too, left their thoughts. One wrote, "It is not disappearance, it is dimming, a retreat into gentler realms." Another wrote, "When the lamp chooses to rest, the room must not resist." Perhaps they knew that the fog was not a death, but a passage, a transition as natural as the soft exhale that follows the final flicker of a wick. As we move deeper into the ruins, stepping carefully between fallen beams and stone lantern pedestals, we begin to feel the city's rhythm. The silence is not empty. It is dense, layered, as though thousands of breaths hang suspended in the air. The dunes rise higher here, protecting what remains of the inner sanctum. Arches carved like crescent moons, courtyards once used for evening gatherings, and low circular chambers where the keepers are said to have tended the city's oldest lamps.
Here, beneath layers of sand, the walls are engraved with scenes that feel almost tender. Figures kneeling beside lamps, offering palms upward in gratitude. Spirals representing cycles of flame. Lines symbolizing the breath of the world, and crescents forming the arc of time. The carvings suggest a city that loved its light deeply, but loved the silence that followed even more. And so we come to the imagined night, the final night of the city's glow. Picture thousands of lamps arranged in gentle geometry across rooftops, balconies, and open terraces. Their flames shiver softly in the rising mist. People gather, sensing change, though no words are spoken. The glow begins to soften, not in distress, but like a sigh, a slow, peaceful exhale. One lamp dim, then another, and another. Not extinguished abruptly, but fading like stars at dawn. The city does not panic. It watches. It breathes. Some kneel beside their lamps, placing hands above the glass and feeling the final warmth. Others close their eyes, listening to the soft crackle as wicks fall silent. A serene stillness spreads, filling every corner and corridor. And then, in the hushed depth of night, the fog rises. It curls gently around pillars, wraps softly around rooftops, and drifts over plazas with a kindness that feels almost protective. One district disappears, then another, a soft merging of flame into mist. It is not a swallowing, but a joining, a return. By dawn, only a handful of lamps remain glowing at the city's edge, those scattered ones we walk beside now. They hold the memory of what once lived here, not the brightness, but the decision to dim. As we stand in the ruins, the desert wind moving like the breath of an old storyteller, a thought emerges as softly as the sand itself. Perhaps the city was never lost. Perhaps it simply shifted into a gentler realm, one where flame does not burn, but glows in a way we cannot see, one where silence is not absence, but presence. Perhaps the city of lamps still exists, resting behind the veil of mist that touches the horizon each time dusk begins to fall. And so we leave this place, stepping back along the trail of dimmed lamps, carrying with us the sense that not all vanishings are tragedies. Some are transitions. Some are acts of grace. And some lights, though quietly surrendered, continue to glow through the ages, carried not by flame, but by memory. Where the dunes breathe, where the silence deepens, where the lamps once shimmered like fallen stars, the city waits, not lost, not gone. It begins with a quiet river, not the roaring kind that breaks mountains, nor the violent kind that splits kingdoms. No, this river is a soft traveler, a ribbon of silver drifting through the early dawn, its surface calm enough to hold the sky's reflection without trembling. When the first light touches it, the water glows with a muted shimmer, like liquid starlight slipping between the silhouettes of ancient stone pillars. Those pillars still stand along the riverbanks, half buried, half forgotten, like guardians who refuse to abandon their posts even when the world around them faded into silence. It is said that long ago a kingdom rose beside this river, a kingdom that trusted in quiet, in ritual, in the gentle wisdom of water. Its people believed the river carried more than water alone. They believed it carried time, breath by breath, moment by moment, smoothing the edges of history like a patient hand over worn parchment. Travelers wrote of arriving at dusk and hearing the river murmur as though speaking in an ancient tongue. They felt it in their bones, a message older than memory, soft as the hum beneath a candle flame. And always, when the moon rose, the water turned silver white, reflecting so purely that one could almost mistake it for a path leading into another world. But the kingdom is gone now, swallowed, they say, not by war or famine, but by mist. As we step along the riverbank, the sound is hushed and even. The reeds barely rustle. The air holds the faint scent of old stone and old stories. The pillars that line the way are carved with symbols worn smooth by centuries of drifting fog. Spirals for breath, crescents for time, lines that curve like the gentle pull of a tide. These carvings suggest ritual, but also listening. The people here listened to the river the way one listens to a heartbeat through a wall, soft, attentive, patient. They studied its moods, kept scrolls recording even the slightest change in its tone, the way its depths thickened with moonlight, the way it warned them when storms approached by sending ripples that moved against the current. They believed the river's shifting voice carried omens, or perhaps memories too quiet for ordinary ears. One scroll speaks of how the river slept during certain winters, its surface still as polished stone. Another describes nights when the water churned without wind, as though dreaming restlessly. The kingdom treated these moments with reverence. Every dawn, keepers of the river entered their observation chambers to note the rhythm of the water's breath, mapping its secrets like monks transcribing celestial hymns. But something changed. One evening, the mist rose earlier than usual. It gathered along the river's edge like a pale veil pulled from the horizon. The people watched, expecting it to lift, as it always did with the coming dawn. But this time, dawn came, and the mist did not rise. It thickened, it deepened, it grew until whole districts vanished behind its soft white curtain. As we move deeper into the story, The river stretches out before us like a silver road leading nowhere and everywhere at once. The mist seems to linger in the imagination as much as in the air, curling around thought like tendrils of a dream one only half remembers. Legends say that on the night the kingdom slipped into the fog, the water took on an unusual stillness. Not a calmness born of peace, but a quiet so absolute that even the fish beneath the surface paused their drifting. The river's voice, once steady and murmuring, fell silent, and in that silence something shifted. Those who lived near the western banks claimed they saw lanterns along the pier flicker once, twice, then vanish, not extinguished, but swallowed by the dense white air. Others reported seeing faint silhouettes moving inside the fog, slow steps, soft gestures, as though people walked calmly into a place just beyond sight. Some said the river widened as the mist thickened, its banks stretching outward to make room for what was coming. Others insisted it narrowed instead, folding in on itself like an ancient scroll. But all accounts agree on one thing. The river changed, and the kingdom followed.
Deep inside what once was the city, we picture homes made of pale stone, walls painted with quiet blues and ochres drawn from river clay. We imagine terraces where people gathered each evening to listen to the soft turn of water beneath them. The kingdom's culture revolved around cycles of tide, of moon, of breath. Perhaps that explains why, when the mist pressed close enough to touch their walls, the people felt not fear, but recognition. In one of the preserved texts, the final line reads, "The river has called. We will answer." What does it mean to be called by a river? What kind of invitation is that? Perhaps it was not a physical summons, but a spiritual one, a shift in the boundary between worlds. Some stories claim the river was a boundary itself, dividing the realm of memory from the realm of forgetting. Others believed it was a guide that ferried tired souls away from the weight of daylight into gentler realms, where time slowed and rest deepened. The people of this kingdom may have simply followed where their river always promised to lead, into silence, into mist, into a place where burdens softened like footprints beneath fresh snow.
As we walk along the remnants of the riverbank, the air feels thick, not heavy, but meaningful, as though every breeze carries echoes of voices once carried downstream. If one closes their eyes, one might hear the faint rhythm of a drum used in water rituals, or the whisper of cloth as a keeper turned a page of the river scrolls. Nothing feels gone here, only softened. Imagine the final night of the kingdom. The people gather near the water's edge, watching the mist stretch like a living veil, The river glimmers beneath it, a silver thread fading into an unknown tapestry. Children lean against their parents, listening to the distant hum coming from within the fog, too soft to understand, but too steady to ignore. One by one, lanterns are lit along the shore. These lights are gentle, like tiny golden seeds, but tonight their glow does not reflect on the water. It falls inward instead, as if the river's surface has become a doorway rather than a mirror. Some say the first to step into the mist was the High Keeper, carrying a scroll bound in pale reed fibers. She walked calmly, with the posture of one returning home. The fog folded around her and absorbed her shape until nothing remained but the faintest shimmer. Others followed, not out of panic, but trust. And when dawn touched the river again, the kingdom was gone. No ruins, no debris, just an expanse of fog, so dense it seemed woven from the breath of the world.